Hi, everybody. Earl here from the Cryptopolitan, and it's another podcast. And today's guest is Sukesh. Did I pronounce that right, Sukesh?
Yes, yes, you did.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's jump right in. Um, let's talk about your project. So, what's your project name? Tell us about it, like on a 30,000 foot level, so that even the beginners can understand. And then let's dive into that after that. So, the ball's yours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm the CEO and founder of Kryptos. I started Kryptos, I think a bit more than 2 years back now. And
Okay.
what we do at Kryptos is, in simple terms, basically we aggregate your financial data across all the Web3 platforms, protocols, on-chain, off-chain, everything,
Hmm.
into one platform like Kryptos. And once you do that, we basically unlock hundreds and thousands of financial tools and services for you.
Interesting. So once we have this data, what kind of things can we do with it? Because as an example, in like the fiat world, there's a lot of systems that kind of aggregate our fiat data, and then they put it together, and then they point out, going, "Hey, you do realize that you have a line of credit at this rate and a credit card at this rate, and if you move this from this to this, you save this much in interest,
Yeah.
right?" And then but crypto makes it more interesting because if we do have something like that, maybe I have three different stakes that are producing Polkadot for me, but one of them is
Yeah.
outperforming the other one by a whole bunch, right?
Yes.
so yeah, tell us about that. Like, so once you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
it, now what?
I think the simple idea here is like today, if you go to anyone who have digital assets and crypto, like and ask like, what's your net worth in the space? It's basically like, yeah, I have to log into like five different applications
Yeah.
and log into an exchange, do my 2FA and all of that. And then I know, okay, this is how my portfolio is performing. Is
Mm,
just madness. So that's the reason like we created cryptos because once we aggregate the financial data, it doesn't only help you like tracking your portfolio, but also growing your portfolio, finding opportunities, trying to save on taxes, be compliant with the regulations,
nice.
and like, yeah, new sort of like solutions that are not possible today.
I
Like if
love
you
it.
wanted to find yield opportunities, staking opportunities, and all of these, like based on your assets and your portfolio, you have to do a lot of research. You need to go to DeFi Llama, do a lot of different things today.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like if you want to get to 1 billion people in crypto, like this is not gonna work. So
Right.
essentially, what we are doing is like we took a comparison of the traditional finance in the traditional world, where we
Mm,
have platforms like standards like open banking today, and like especially in the US and in North America, we have companies like Plaid, essentially aggregating all the banking infrastructure into like
mm,
one
mm.
standardized layer. So on top of that, you have like all these fintech applications that's building and like basically innovating. So essentially, that's what we're trying to do. Cryptos is the
Fantastic.
underlying financial infrastructure where you can like build applications, do a lot more different things. We
Yeah,
started with read-only data, but like in future we can expand to payments and other services easily.
that makes sense. So once upon a time, I used to be in financial services, and the story I told people was, okay, look, so when you're going to build a house,
Yeah.
usually you have a general contractor, and the general contractor's job is to make sure everybody comes at the right time, at the right place, at the right
Yes.
spot, right? Because if the electrician and the plumber fight, everybody dies. And so that's kind of how it works. And the funny thing is, when we build our financial house, that's not the case, right? When was the last time your banker talked to your insurance guy, talked to your mortgage broker, talked to your accountant, talked to your bookkeeper?
Yes.
Never, right? This
No.
doesn't happen. And so what I see with this aggregation, and then correct me if I'm wrong, is that you finally have all the systems talking, and so you're going to find these little tiny economies of scale that people don't
Yes.
normally see. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and you're right on the point. And I mean, like these kind of systems have revolutionized traditional finance industry over the last decade, like open banking standard across Europe, and
Right.
finally, like US is following the same path now. So they just announced open banking regulations in the US. So it basically opens up a possibilities of new wave of fintech innovation,
Yes.
essentially. And like even like today, if people have crypto investments, which might be worth six figures or more for some people, but they can't use that for credit purposes or any other purposes today because Like you can't trust the data by yourself. So
Right.
using solutions like this, you can
Mm.
build new credit systems where you can put your crypto as a collateral, for instance, in
That's
TradFi
amazing.
and fiat. Yeah.
So here's another comparison then. So what most people don't realize is when you look at the worldwide structure as a whole, right? It's different when you look at it through a different lens, in a different country, in a different view.
Yeah.
So in North America, let's go specifically. I live in Canada, and in
Yeah.
Canada, there's only five banks, and that's it,
Yes.
right? But you look at Germany, and there's hundreds of banks, and they're
Oh,
all
yes.
fighting each other for efficiency and structure, right? And so what happens in the German mortgage program is they take your existing asset, whatever the extra equity is, and they
Yeah.
reinvest it for you, and they take that investment and they pay down the rest of your, the rest of the loan with it. So your loan actually gets paid faster
Yes.
in Germany, for example, than in Canada, where the Canadians, there's only five banks. They don't care. You have to go to one of them, right? So you have no
Yeah.
choice. And whatever your equity is, good for you. They don't invest it for you. They don't pay it down faster. They don't do any of those things.
Yes.
I like what you're
Same
doing
thing.
because of the transparency across all the platforms, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
it's the same issue here in Sweden as well. Like there's only very limited amount of providers, and yeah, they
mm.
don't really care.
No.
Uh, yeah.
Well, they have kind of like this kind of partial mini monopoly kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Where it's
Yeah.
got to be one of them, so they're going to roll the dice, right?
Yes.
And so because everybody, there's only so many options, there's not that much competition. So whereas what you're doing is you're opening it up to, the world and giving it, real actual options and real actual opportunity, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, what the biggest problem today is the user experience as well, right? So especially in
Oh yeah.
Web3, like,
Oh,
is
dude,
just
just me, and I'm not a big crypto holder. I have to
yeah.
log into 14 things just to get my,
Yes.
and then I sit there and count. Like, oh yeah, right. So that's gonna be a pain in the butt. I mean, so what? The amount of time savings and the amount of hair I save because I forgot the password again. You know, having it all in one spot makes a big difference. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when time comes in the year for compliance as well, like, yeah, you just need your reports and everything organized, and
well,
that's also really
your
helpful.
accountant, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Your bookkeeper won't kill you. That's good,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good all the way around. Brilliant. So what caused you to go this route? I mean, it makes obvious sense, but no one, is really doing it like that at the scale that you're doing it. What caused you to make it? I'm curious.
I've been in the space for almost 8 years now. I come from a tech background personally, so like
Hmm.
being in the space, I before starting cryptos, I co-founded Layer One blockchain network Telos,
Okay.
yeah, which has been live since 2018, and yeah. I think over the last couple of years, like I've been leading things related to liquidity and finance and operations at
Yeah.
Telos. Like we do it at scale because as a layer one organization, we have a lot of DeFi, a lot of market makers, a lot of liquidity operations.
Hmm.
But even though when you operate at that scale in Web3, like 15, $20 million fund, um, it gets distributed across like 100 different accounts. You have sub accounts and a lot of crazy stuff. But when it comes to like the actual tracking and reporting and internal management, it's just too complex to do
I
it.
get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Once upon a time, I used to sit in a treasury company,
yeah,
treasury software as a service. And the joke of a question is, who cares about treasury? And the funny thing is, the biggest people in the world care about treasury.
yes,
And like,
yes,
so one of the customers was Coca-Cola, right?
yeah,
And then it's a funny question. How much money does Coca-Cola have?
yeah,
Nobody knows, right? Exact same problem you're solving right now. How many accounts
yeah,
do they? And then yeah, they got the bottling plant, they got the actual Coca-Cola making plant, and then they've got the distribution and then the sales and then the warehouse and they're all different entities. And
yes,
they're all multiple entities in the same country even. And then there's different countries. And then they have it
yeah,
all in different currencies. So it's the
yeah,
exact same problem. It's
yes,
crazy.
absolutely.
It's so just bank reconciliation takes
Yeah,
like 4 days. So I could never answer the question, how much money does Coca-Cola have? I can tell you how much money they had 4 days ago. So so it's always an interesting concept when people do these fintech aggregation type techniques, and everyone goes, "Isn't that silly?" No, it's not.
yeah, yeah, it's not. And especially in Web3, it's just way too complex of because of all the variables we have in the space.
Mm.
And there is no set standard as well that everyone follows. Like if you go to Exchange A, they have one standard for APIs or data formats versus like Exchange B is just
Right.
a mix. And they keep on changing like every other day. So just to keep up with that and maintain like a standardized solution is in itself a challenge.
Right.
And on top of that, like managing and having the capability to track your treasuries or like to do accounting or reconciliation of your assets, just for internal reporting, like, okay, what's the status of our organization? And from a financial perspective, like no one really knows, just pointing fingers at each other. You
I
know,
get it. I love it. That's awesome, man. Well, that's a really cool project. So yeah, so people, if you're interested in cryptos, definitely check that out. So what do you do when you're not saving the world? What do you do for fun? So when you're not sitting on your desk doing this thing, what do you do outside of work?
well, it's been 2 years, pretty much dedicated on this. But outside of work, during this time, yeah, I had a kid, and whatever the time I get, I try to spend
That's
with
it.
them and
I get it.
family, and that's it. Yeah, because in crypto, working in the crypto space is like 24 by 7, day in, day out.
Hmm.
There's no weekends, nothing, and yeah, that's the life of crypto. We got to hustle, and yeah, we got to get things done because this industry is moving at a super fast pace.
Yeah.
If you don't catch up, like, yeah,
That's
you're
it. You're
gone.
left behind.
So
Yeah, exactly. It's a blink of an eye. Well,
yeah,
let me give you the same advice I give everybody else who just had a kid. Get your kid an email address,
yes.
and every time they do something special, and I mean it's so such a simple thing. Like I have this video that I treasure, right?
Okay.
And what it is my kid finding his foot. He did not know he had a foot, and then his
Yeah.
foot pops up, and he just freaks out. He's like, "Oh my god!" And it's the best video ever. And so, I email this to my kid's email, right?
Uh,
Then what happens is because as a parent you're waking up at weird hours, and then as a crypto guy you're waking up at weird hours, and you're not going to remember this stuff like a week from now,
yes.
let alone 10 years from now. And so the
Yeah.
neat thing is you email all these fun little memories to the email,
Yeah.
and then whenever you feel like it, you crack it open and you just take a look at it, and you just have a good laugh and a good to have a good time, right? um I forgot that when my son was 1, he actually ate a quarter pounder burger by himself. He only had like 3 teeth, but somehow he ate the whole thing, and I'm like, oh god, when you turn into a
Wow.
teenager, I'm going to be terrified. He is now 16 and eating me out of house and home. He eats everything. It's crazy. Like he's a machine. So yeah, it's interesting, right? But then you look back at these fun memories, right? So there
Yes.
you go. So
Really, thanks for the advice. I'll take you up on that. So yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
no worries, no worries. All right, cool. Yeah. So basically, your hobby is your child because you have nothing else to do because that's all the time. Yeah, I get it. When my kids were that young, what hobby do you have? Sometimes
Yeah.
I sleep. Sometimes
Yes.
when they let me. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let's move into the third part. Um, we talked about all these things. What's exciting for you in the project? And, what do you want people to connect with you on? So tell us what's most exciting to you on the project currently. And then let's bring some people into your community and tell them where you want them to go.
Yeah, I think the exciting part for us right now is like we're at a stage where we tested the product extensively. We have existing user base, and now we're at a point of inflection where we're gonna take the next steps to scale
Hmm.
quickly and rapidly.
Yes.
And this is where we are opening up our infrastructure for other developers, other businesses to build on top of that,
Oh, cool.
essentially, so
Yeah.
that it reduces the time for development of new applications by like which used to take a year now, which can be done in 1 week. So
Hmm.
that's where we are at, and going into new year, this is what I'm super excited about, and yeah, so this is what we're all working towards, yeah, day in day out.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, if people want to know more about you, your project, everything you guys are doing, where should they connect with you? What's your best platform?
You can connect with us on X.
Okay.
So just search for Kryptos Connect, and you will
Just
find
connect.
us. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Sukesh, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you, getting to talk to you. And I really, truly wish you luck. And I'm really interested in the project. I'm actually going to go check it out after this.
Yeah, do it. And yeah, tax season is just around the corner. So yeah, check it out.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Great talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me.